is going on, Grinders? It's Chief, it's TJ, it's Tim, and listen, we're here for the pre-lock show, folks. We got some NFL going on Saturday. It's coming up really soon, and I'm just so grateful to be here and try to help you guys along with two of these beautiful men that are going to help you take down some tournaments. Hopefully, Tim, how's it going on this beautiful Saturday?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Chief. Good to see you. Haven't done a show with you in quite some time. It's going to be a good weekend of football. I guarantee you that. I'm personally emphasizing the 4-game DK slate, but happy to break down the 2-gamer on both FanDuel and DraftKings with you guys.
Yeah, and I think most of us are kind of focused on that 4-gamer this time. As much as we've come into kind of the world of showdown and short slates, I think most of us are actually happy to get both games, even though we've got to have, let's call it somewhat of an old school sweat, Tim. This is a back in the day sweat here, but we're covering multiple days of NFL. Definitely think DraftKings got it right on this one. TJ, kicking it over to you, my good friend up in Saskatoon, Canada. What is going on? How's the weather today? You know, you've got to give us your daily temperature update, and then we will gladly hop into this slate.
It's warm. It's balmy. It's like minus 18 today or something. That's nothing. Went for a nice walk this afternoon. But honestly, just been busy all day. Saturdays are just nuts for me. I had 2 expert surveys, 2 prize picks articles written already. And then we had the MMA crunch time. We got pre-lock, and then we still got NBA later. So very, very busy day. But I'm excited to dive into some NFL. Playoff football is a lot of fun. 4-game slate's just big enough that there's lots of ways that you can get different with it. And even on this 2-game slate, I think there's kind of some game theory ways that you can go about making your lineup to get a little unique as well. So yeah, I'm ready to dive into it. Let's have some fun.
Absolutely. And let's go ahead and hop right in. And once again, folks, I think our focus, if I'm not mistaken, I think all of us are primarily focused on 4-game slate, and we can give some 2-game takes in the middle if that works for everybody. Let's maybe take it position by position. That way we can kind of cover all the games at once. Tim, we've got quarterback this week. There really aren't any bad quarterbacks, but I think there are some that maybe stand out above the rest. How are you handling quarterback in terms of overall exposure across these 2 days?
Yeah, so I only play single entry team. I only play 1 team on the slate. But I agree with you, Will. There are probably, out of the 8 quarterbacks, there's probably only 2 that I wouldn't play. But really 6 out of the 8 for me are firmly in play, and there are real decisions to be made. I think that if you're looking for safety, I think Brock Purdy is probably the safest. I think if you're looking for more of like a lower owned, large field tournament play, I like CJ Stroud quite a bit. I love that. I mean, I know that the Ravens are the best defense in all football, but he's going to be 5% owned on a 4-game slate, and we've seen how strong he is when he is trailing this season. He's got amazing numbers when playing from behind. So I really like CJ Stroud in large field. I think you could play him in single entry too. So I think this is a very, very interesting slate from the quarterback position.
Okay, let's stay there for a second, Tim. We've got Broccoli Boy. I think he posed a actually really good question. This is probably one I would have asked about. Who are your 2 that you feel most uncomfortable with over the course of 2 days?
I think Jordan Love, it would be out of play for me. 6,200. There are guys right below him and above him that I would much, much, much rather play. And then I think, honestly, I mean, if I was making 150, I wouldn't X out Josh Allen, but I don't really want to pay $8K for Josh Allen. So those 2 guys, I would be vastly underweight on and vastly underweight their pass catchers as well.
Okay. All right, Tim, sounds good. TJ, let's kick it over to you. Anything you want to add for the quarterback position or a different perspective?
Yeah, so on today's TwoGamer, I think Brock Purdy is definitely the guy I'm prioritizing. I have him in over half my lineup. And then Lamar Jackson's priority 2, then Stroud, then Love for me. On the 4-gamer, we talked about this a little bit on the Blitz show, Will. My favorite tournament quarterback by far. I'm taking just a huge, I like to get spicy on these weekend slates, Will.
Yeah.
I'm just taking a huge stand for the main slate for the 4-gamer. I have one single entry lineup, like my main lineup, and then I'm running a 20 entry max.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of those lineups has the same quarterback, and his name is Baker Mayfield. I want to target as much of that game as possible. He's the cheapest guy on the board. He's coming in low owned. I want to get to as much of Baker and that Tampa Bay passing offense as possible. I want to get as much of the Detroit passing offense as possible too. And so I am full stacking that game as much as possible. My second favorite game on the slate to stack up is probably San Fran, and just kind of run like the San Fran onslaught style stack with a couple Green Bay run backs. But that's kind of how I'm running it, is like on the 4-game slate, it's Tampa Detroit as my priority. On the 2-game slate, it's Green Bay San Fran as my priority. And Baker is definitely my number 1 guy for tournaments. Number 2 is probably Goff. Number 3 is probably Purdy. But I would definitely be including Mahomes and Stroud in there as well. I think the only person I would X out if I was running more lineups would be Jordan Love on the 4-gamer, just because who the hell do you stack him with? They're going to be rotating 2 tight ends. They're going to be rotating 5 receivers. It's a total guess. On the 2-game slate, I'm more willing to take some of those shots. I'll just play the lower owned ones. But on the 4-gamer, I just don't think there's any point.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think even on a 2-gamer today, Love gets the X for me. I'd be more comfortable probably playing Stroud, Jackson, Purdy, but that's just my vantage point. I think we all agree Jordan Love is our odd man out here in terms of absolutely probably somebody we just aren't as comfortable playing. Let me kick this over to you, Tim, and then we can absolutely move on from quarterback. Where are you at on Lamar Jackson this week? He feels like, kind of, if you were going to spend all the way up, he feels like the guy we're spending for. Where are you at on Lamar just in general?
Yeah, I absolutely love Lamar this week. Just the way that I made my build for the 4-gamer on DK, I couldn't get to him. I'm actually playing Baker at 6K, so I'm electing to pay all the way down for Baker at 6K. But I mean, listen, I've seen some people in the chat talk about how Allen's going to go nuclear. Well, yeah, I think Lamar could also, and he's got some really, really amazing weapons that are pretty affordable. So I would rank Lamar as my number 2, Baker's my number 1 just because of price. But Lamar for raw points, he is definitely my favorite play.
Okay, here we go. We're going to move this thing along to running back. Tim, let's just stay with you. I feel like McCaffrey is the guy. Like, that's kind of the player that everybody wants to get in. Small slate. I feel like most won't care. I don't. He's absolutely in my single entry team right now. He feels like the top, not just the top running back spin, but the top skill position spin. Where are you at on McCaffrey? And then let's just kind of talk about all of your other running back options.
Yeah, I'm definitely playing McCaffrey. This was a horrible price by DraftKings at 8.8. He should be at least $1,000 more. Kind of ruined the slate in some ways, in my opinion, just because that price is just way too low. So he's a really tough fade in single entry, absolute must-have in cash games. So yeah, C-Mac definitely on my single entry team. Then there are obviously some really, really strong plays that are cheaper, like Isaiah Pacheco. He's pretty much got that backfield to himself. He's 6,400. I think he's in a pretty good game environment. He is also going to be, he's going to be like the 3rd highest owned running back as of right now. So if you're looking for maybe a pivot, I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's got kind of the more explosive play upside that David Montgomery doesn't necessarily have, even though they tend to use Montgomery at short yardage spots. But I like Jahmyr Gibbs quite a bit, and currently we have him at 17%, which isn't that bad. The tricky guy for me, who's going to be the second highest on running back that I'm still having kind of debates in my own mind about, is Devin Singletary. He's getting a huge percentage of the snaps. He's only 5,700, but the matchup is horrible. So, and he's not gonna be in a positive game script, I would imagine. So, he might be a guy that I fade, but I'm going to be nervous about it because he gets so much usage. But I don't know if that's chalk that I necessarily want to eat. If you're exclusively a cash game player, maybe you could play Singletary, but I think in tournaments he's a fade. I like Gus Edwards quite a bit at 5,900 at only 13% owned, so he's like a third of what Singletary's owned. Edwards is going to get all the goal line work in a positive game script. So I like Edwards as a pivot away from Singletary.
Okay, absolutely. And I think, and let me say this too. I think if you're playing the 2-gamer today, and what we're doing is talking 4-gamer and doing 2-gamer highlights, folks. For those of you that just turned in, talking 4-gamer, doing 2-gamer highlights. I think if you're playing the 2-gamer, Devin Singletary probably becomes a lot more important than the 4-gamer. For what? Would you agree with that assessment, Tim? Is that kind of what your thoughts are?
Yes, I do agree with that. In the 2-gamer, his stock goes way up, but I still think even on that 2-gamer, I think Gus Edwards is still a reasonable pivot away from Singletary.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree 100%. I think the volume has people on Singletary, but we've seen if this Baltimore Ravens team gets rolling on the ground, look out. Like Gus could have a nuclear day, especially if he falls in the end zone twice, which is within the cards. TJ, kicking it over to you. Let's go 2-gamer thoughts first here in terms of how you view the 2-gamer at the running back position, and then let's expand out the 4-gamer.
Yeah, so in the 2-gamer, you can basically just say, like, in any type of, if you want to play 2 running backs, like any type of single entry, any type of optimal, if you want to play 2, it's McCaffrey and Singletary. If you want to play 3, you throw in some Aaron Jones. I love the Gus Edwards call for tournaments. I even think you can play some Justice Hill in tournaments as well. 2-gamer and 4-gamer, I feel like all of these guys are viable here. I'm not quite going to be fading Singletary in the 2 or 4-gamer. I think he's just too strong of a play today at 5,700. He should be in that mid 6K range, like White, like Cook, like Gibbs, like Pacheco, but he's not. He's the same play as those guys. If you look at something like the Blitz projection system, he actually projects better than all of those guys except for Aaron Jones. And so I'm going to be on a lot of Singletary today. I love David Montgomery in tournaments. He doesn't even need to do much. He can just basically he's Gus Edwards in a different game. He just needs to fall in the end zone twice. So he'll get 12 carries. He'll have 40 yards. But if he gets 2 or 3 touchdowns, obviously you might need him in your lineup. So since I'm playing a lot of Baker as well, I'm getting a little Montgomery. As much as I love the quarterbacks and the receivers on the second slate, both 2-game and 4-game, I'm prioritizing a lot of running backs on this Saturday. McCaffrey, Singletary, Aaron Jones are the 3 guys I'm looking to get the most in my lineups.
Absolutely. And I think the general consensus here, at least from all of us, McCaffrey is primary. You need to get him in, and then you can just filter through after that. But if you're not playing McCaffrey, to me, it feels like our general consensus is your lineup may be dead for both slates. Is that our general thought?
Yeah. So for the 4-gamer, I have McCaffrey in all 20 of my lineups and my single entry. I'm playing 80 lineups on the 2-gamer. I have McCaffrey only in 68%. Notice how I say only. Every lineup that doesn't have McCaffrey has a Purdy, Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle stack.
Okay, so you're playing opposite passing games. Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah. So I'm playing
on the
on
the 2-gamer. McCaffrey is projected for 66% ownership. So that's right around what TJ has.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Sounds good.
And so he's in every single Lamar lineup I have, every single Love lineup I have, every single Stroud lineup I have, and then he's in about 2/3 or half of the Purdy lineups that I have.
Okay. Got it. There we go. And I know I will mention this. I think TJ mentioned this yesterday on the Blitz that if you really have a commitment to McCaffrey, taking Purdy and McCaffrey may capture most of the production of their offense. So if you decide to fade the receivers, but you take Purdy and McCaffrey, that's a way to get there as well. Just wanted to mention that. I remember TJ mentioned that on a previous show we had. So just wanted to plug that in. All right, we are moving to wide receiver. Tim, let's talk through wide receiver.
Yeah, so if we want to start with the TwoGamer, I would definitely start with 6K Zay Flowers. I absolutely love him today in GPP. I think he's a little bit too cheap. I know the Ravens were considering activating Mark Andrews, but that did not happen. So we've got guys like Zay Flowers, and then also guys like Odell Beckham, who I think is a big time, like amazing GPP play on this 2-game DraftKings slate at only 18%. Like he's home run or bust. They might try to air it out to him, and at 4.6, you only need one of those catches to pay off that price tag. So I absolutely love Odell. I don't mind Odell in the 4-gamer for what it's worth either. So Flowers and Odell, I absolutely love. Debo, he's our top rated wide receiver, but he's pretty expensive, so I don't mind pivoting to Ayuk for 6,900, projected for just about the same as Samuel. So I think if I want to get some San Francisco wide receivers, I'd go Ayuk, and then I always have interest in Jaden Reed. But, like TJ mentioned, there's, that Green Bay wide receiver core is starting to get healthy. So it's not as much of a lock play, but he's another guy that's got a big time ceiling.
Absolutely. I love it. And I mean, I don't think any of us are gonna fight each other on fading the Green Bay passing game because of all the options they have now. So, Tim, I think we're going to be fine there. TJ, go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just gonna say, the wide receiver position on the 4-gamer is so much stronger than the 2 games. So, like, obviously in the 4-game, it's guys like Amon-Ra, Mike Evans, I absolutely love. Rashee Rice is an absolute stud. So I mean, the wide receiver position is way, way, way stronger for Sunday than it is on this 2-gamer.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. In fact, Tim, if you will oblige me here briefly, with my single entry team that I have, I don't have any wide receivers from any of these first 2 games, for what it's worth. I'm backloaded. All my wide receivers are tomorrow, for what it's worth. So that tells you where my head is at.
I kind of agree with that. I was considering going Odell or Flowers for today, but I ended up backloading also.
Yeah, I'll tell, and I mean, he's already got ownership, but Shakir is one of my cheap guys, for what it's worth, which is also tomorrow. So that's what I'm saying. I'm really backloaded for this one. So for those of you that are counting your winnings today, don't not so fast, as Lee Corso would say. Got a long way to go. TJ, wide receiver, anything else you want to add in terms of any spiciness we want to put in this burrito? Or are you good with everything we've discussed so far?
So it's different on all the slates, on all the sites. FanDuel 2-gamer, I will say, like, you're choosing for like a single entry or a cash, you're choosing between Purdy or Lamar. And I think in like a single entry, if you're playing Purdy, you're playing Debo and Ayuk. And if you're playing Lamar, you're playing Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr. It's so much easier to build if you go Lamar, Christian McCaffrey, Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham Jr. on FanDuel, because Zay and OBJ are just way too cheap. Zay is 7K and Odell Beckham is 5.6 compared to all the other options on the slate. Way too cheap. On the 4-gamer, though, I'm doing exactly like you guys said. I'm just avoiding these first 2 games for my teams. Like, I do still like the Debo and the Ayuks, but and I wrote up on my Saturday Prize Picks article, I have Brandon Ayuk's receiving yards over, and so I do really like him in this spot. But I like the Detroit and Tampa Bay guys so much more. And so what I did for my 20 entries on the 4-game slate is I hit the lock button on Baker, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Christian McCaffrey. And I'm just rotating in different versions of Josh Reynolds, Jamison Williams, Khalil Shakir, Heck, even some Mecole Hardman, because they're still without Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. So Mecole Hardman at a 3K flat is totally fine. And then I'm throwing in some Trey Palmer and some Cade Otton as we pivot to tight end for some cheapies on that Tampa Bay team as well. So I'm going all over that second day for the 4-gamer. For the 2-gamer on DraftKings, I agree Zay Flowers is probably the top option. The Green Bay guys are kind of fine to mix in, but I'm trying to get as much of Brandon Ayuk and Zay Flowers as possible for the 2-gamer. Also forgot to mention Rashee Rice, legitimate number 1 receiver who is priced $1,000 too cheap every single week. He's great on the 4-gamer too. But the other cheap guy I like taking a shot on in this 2-gamer quite a bit is Christian Watson, 4,200, going very under-owned. Didn't do anything the last week in his first game back, but he is back today. When he came back the first time last time, he did nothing in his first game back, and then after that, he started exploding as he started getting more comfortable in there again. And so I want to get to quite a bit of him as well. $4,200, nice and cheap, and then I'll take shots on the 2-gamer on the $3,300 Bo Melton too. I view basically all of these Green Bay receivers the same, and so give me the cheap ones. Give me Watson and Melton as opposed to Dobbs and Jaden Reed.
Okay.
What about John Mechie, TJ? Do you have any of him on the 2-gamer or 4-gamer?
I think I have him on 2 teams, maybe on the 2-gamer, none on the 4-gamer. Now that Robert Woods is back, I don't really want to play him.
Yeah. Okay.
And
to me, like that like those targets for him were more because Woods was out. I think he'll be in the 1 to 2 range as opposed to the 3 to 4 range.
Yep, it's fair.
How are we feeling about Russell Gage? I'm kidding. That was a reference to a Baker Mayfield interview, and the guy was talking about how Russell Gage was making an impact, and Russell Gage said, well, listen, Russell, we love Russell. Really good guy. Hadn't played a snap for us all season. Maybe that guy needs to watch some film. All right, moving to tight end, I think, Tim. How are we feeling at tight end? I was hoping everybody would catch that, but maybe they didn't see that interview. It was really funny, by the way. If you haven't seen that one from Baker, that might be an instant classic Baker Mayfield moment. Tight end, Tim, how are we feeling? 4-gamer, I think we've got tons of options. 2-gamer, I know, we're probably sitting more today with Likely and Kittle. But how are we going 4-gamer, 2-gamer, and then we'll close this thing out?
Yeah, 2-gamer real quick. It's Kittle and Likely, but I also think you can take shots on Dalton Schultz. This Green Bay tight end situation is starting to get tricky, but if you're making multiple teams, getting exposure to both, I think is fine. And that would be it for the 2-gamer. The 4-game slate as definitely, there's guys like Kelsey, obviously at 6K. He plays a huge role, right? He just keeps dropping passes. Like if he starts catching those passes, he's going to have a humongous game. So Kelsey is a fantastic play. Sam Laporta still not getting any ownership. Looked way better than people thought he was going to play or look. And I'm sure he's even healthier this week. So if he's really going to be 6% owned on a 4-game slate, I absolutely love Laporta. Yeah, I mean, definitely.
He's my favorite play by far. I love him.
Yeah, I mean, if he's really gonna be that low owned, I think he's fantastic. I do like Cade Otton quite a bit too. Not a big time ceiling, but if none of these tight ends separate themselves, he's gonna be playing 90% of the snaps, so he could easily get there with like a 5-catch, 50-yard day and get you 10 points. And that might be good enough at the tight end position. So. I think he would be my favorite low end tight end. But like I said, I think Laporta is the large field GPP play.
I'm just going to kick this thing over to TJ. No comments from me just yet. TJ seemed very excited about what Tim was putting together for us here. TJ, over to you, my friend. 5 minutes left.
Love Sam Laporta on the 4-gamer. He's my favorite tight end, followed by Cade Otton. I just want to get as much exposure to the passing game in that game as possible. Laporta low owned, like he was my favorite before seeing his ownership. So seeing the low ownership just gets me so excited about him. 2Gamer on FanDuel, it's likely number 1, Kittle number 2. 2Gamer on DraftKings, it's Kittle number 1, likely number 2, because the price gap is closer together there. But I do think it's worth taking some shots in large field tournaments on either of the Green Bay guys, Tucker Kraft or Luke Musgrave. I like Luke Musgrave better, even though he projects worse. I think he's going to come in even lower ownership, and he's just going to continue to get more and more snaps each week as he comes back. Brevin Jordan is not someone I'd really want to take a shot on FanDuel because the difference in price between him and Isaiah Likely is only $800. But on DraftKings, Brevin Jordan is $2,700, whereas Likely is $4,700. It's $2,000. And so I do think you can take shots on Brevin Jordan on FanDuel, on DraftKings on the 2-game slate as well here.
Okay. Sounds good. I think for me, Brevin Jordan's probably, I know he caught that big pass last week. I don't think that's something we can expect in a general sense. The defense today is going to be much better than what the Houston Texans have seen from last week. I still don't think that means their offense is completely shut down for what it's worth, but I am expecting them to struggle a little bit more this week than last week. And
it's really just about like the other options around him.
Yeah.
Like he's the only guy under 3K that you can consider at all on draft.
No, absolutely no. Sorry, and maybe I'm probably phrasing my statement inappropriately, but I think my larger point is Brevin Jordan may not have the ability to get explosive like he did last week because I think he's going to see a better defense, but I think he's still cheap enough to include in your build. Definitely has some upside. I'm with you guys. Sam Laporta is actually my number one target. I don't have him in my single entry because I just could not fit him on the 4-gamer. But so I had to end up just absolutely taking Cade Otton to make everything else work because I do have McCaffrey and a couple other big pieces from the Detroit Tampa game. So I think we're about at lock. I'm trying to make sure we've got all the questions in. I don't see anything. Tim, TJ, I know you guys are doing a phenomenal job of hitting them in the chat today. So thank you guys.
I see one pop up just on the producer cam. I can see the Twitter chats too. And so we got our guy Brandon Wilcox messaging from Twitter, and he says, "You guys going on later for NBA?" Yes, it will be myself, Tim, and Taylor joining us later this evening for some NBA.
T's.
And the triple T's, exactly. And I believe the slate starts an hour earlier than usual. So it's probably just in under an hour we're going out here. Is that right, Tim?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Does the slate start at 6 or does the slate start at 7? Oh, no, it starts at 7. I was looking at it wrong.
It starts at 7. Yeah.
They had a couple early games today, which probably threw you off.
Yeah, so in an hour 45, we'll be back on here.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, listen, I think that wraps us up. Tim, do you have any other thoughts you want to give for the 2-game or 4-game?
No, just good luck to everybody, and I enjoyed doing the show with you.
Absolutely. TJ, anything?
Not at all. Good luck, everybody, and we'll see you for some NBA later, and we'll see you back for another 2-game slate tomorrow. I'm excited about that one, and I'll say this, I'm going to be betting on Tampa Bay money line, I think, in this one.
Okay. All right, folks. Well, listen, I'm Chief. That's Tim. That's TJ. This has been the Pre-Lock Show. We will have NBA later today, as aforementioned by our other hosts here. And we will see you tomorrow again for Pre-Lock with, I think, this same exact crew. So buckle up, folks. It's going to be a fun weekend. We'll see you tomorrow.